Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey now, today we're going to take a look at Super Motherload from Roxley. This is a deck building game, sort of. It's definitely a unique deck building game that is actually based off of a video game which I have never played, so I can't really comment on that. It's available for Steam and PlayStation 4 and Xbox, I think. And the video game was, and this game, are sort of loving homages to Dig Dug and other games of that ilk where you are, it's in the future on the planet Mars. You're taking control of a bunch of pilots and their vehicles, digging down into the surface to get to precious minerals, which are not going not only going to help you get different achievements and get you different points, they're also going to help you get better pilots. So that's kind of where the deck building aspect of the game comes in. It's a little more complicated than that, so let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the board game, at least, is played. Then we're going to come back and I'll let you know what I think. Alright, so because of the limitations of my camera and table space, I kind of had to smush everything in here, but this is a typical starting setup for Super Motherload. Just picture that every other player has this type of setup with their 4 stacks of pilot cards, their starting deck of their individual color, as well as their starting hand of 4 cards from that starting deck, because this is a deck building game, although it has some different things than other deck builders, which we're going to get to. Now, the main centerpiece of the game is the game board, which starts off with the Depth 1 game board. But as you go down to different depths, you're going to add more and more boards attached to the bottom. I'm not going to go through all that because, again, of the limitations of my table. But as you get down deeper and deeper, there's more and more icons, and there's more rare gems and jewels that you may find. And each of the game boards is double-sided, so whoever puts down the tile is going to determine which side you're going to use, and that just has different random allotments of minerals and different other things that you might run into and tunnel through as you go down the depths. Now over here, these are achievement cards. You're going to have 3 major achievements, which you're going to put out at the start of the game, and those are the only major achievements you'll have throughout the game. There's more than that, but you just choose 3 at random. And these involve, these will give you victory points, which, by the way, is the goal of the game. And the game is going to end when you get down to, every time that you cover up with a tunnel, the last artifact on a game board, that's going to lead a new game board to coming out. And when you do that on the 4th game board, that is going to end the game. And then at that point, you count up all of your victory points, and the achievements are one of the ways that you can get the victory points. So how the major achievement cards work is that as you buy different colored pilot cards, if you meet the requirements, like in this case, getting 2 red pilot of your two of your red pilot cards, getting 2 of your blue pilot cards, and 2 of your yellow, you'll immediately be able to claim this achievement card. Although you can only claim 1 per turn, and that's going to get you 5 victory points at the end of the game. Whereas some of them are different. This one has to have you get 3 blue and 3 yellow, and this one actually has one of them is getting 2 of the rainbow, or 2 of any kind of the wild pilot cards purchase. Some of the cards actually are considered wild instead of any of the other normal colors. Now, the minor achievements are a bit different. They're worth less points, but they're actually going to be constantly coming out. You're always going to have 3 in the lineup. And they have different circumstances to get. So, for instance, this one, you have to have at least 3 mineral tiles of the same type on 1 pilot stack. I'll get back to what that means in a few minutes. And then this one is drill a 5-length tunnel in a single action. So sometimes they're a little bit tough to get, but they're always going to be replenishing and giving you potential points. Now over here you have a bunch of different tokens. These are the tile tokens, which every time that you drill or bomb, you're going to use these to cover up sections of the game board. You have the artifact tokens, which I mentioned before, are sort of the signal for you to switch tunnels or to get new game boards out or to potentially end the game. These are all double-sided. On the other side of them are randomized special effects like getting more crystals or getting more actions, drawing more cards. You're not going to know until you're eligible, until you cover up one of the artifacts and are eligible to draw one, and then they're one-time use. These are bomb tokens, of which you're going to start the game with 1. And then all the rest of these are mineral tokens. They're all double-sided. They all have different monetary amounts. Like this is it's either iron ore or coal, which is going to give you $2. On the other side, it's crystals, which is going to give you $5. And then it goes all the way up to the diamonds and I think rubies, which are going to be $10 and $12. So whenever you cover up the applicable gem or mineral out on the board, that's going to enable you to take those tokens. But we'll get back to that with a little more clarity in a minute. First, let me take you through how the turns are going to work in this game. You're going to have your deck of starting cards. You're going to have 4 in hand. When it's your turn, you're going to have 2 actions on your turn. Now, unlike other deck building games, while it is true that you're going to be getting new pilot cards, putting them into your deck, and then eventually drawing them when you run out of cards, you don't automatically draw cards in this game. Instead, one of the actions that you can optionally take on your turn with one of your 2 actions is to draw 2 cards from the deck. Now you can double up on actions in this game, which means you can draw up to 4 cards on a normal turn where you only have 2 actions. But at the end of your turn, if you have more than 5 cards, you have to discard down to 5 cards. And taking a look at some of the cards, just to give you some idea, remember that they're different colors and they all have different focuses. Like the red cards are going to be primarily used for bombing, because down here you're going to have a little chart here of like Tetris pieces. This indicates the pattern in which you can bomb. So if you that's the other 2 actions you can take on your turn are drilling and bombing. So if you decide to bomb, you're going to play one of these red cards together with a bomb token. You have to have at least 1 bomb token in order to bomb. And then you're going to look out on the board, and let's say that I use this, which is a straight line of 3 squares. I'm going to put that into my discard pile, discard my bomb token, and I'm going to take a straight line of 3 squares, and I'm going to cover up 3 spaces on the board. Now you have to start off here at the near the surface of Mars, because that's where the game is starting. But from then on, you're always building off of other tunnels that people have built. You can never like just touch corner to corner, but so long as you're continually building off of other tunnels or adjacent to them, you can continue to drill downwards. And every time that you cover up something with a tunnel, you're going to immediately claim those resources, which might be minerals, it might be more bomb tokens, it might be artifacts, it might be actually card draw as well. Now, there's a couple limitations on this. First off, well, let me explain the other action, which is drilling. Drilling, the result is the same with drilling, but you have to perform it in a different way. Any card that has the, you could also use the red cards for drilling as well, but you have to match up colors. So if I wanted to drill a 3-section segment, and I only had, and that was, let's say that I had 3 blue cards in hand, I can discard all 3 of those blue cards, and that would enable me to take a 3-section segment and drill with it. But you have to match up the same color. If it is a wild card, with a wild color symbol, then you would be able to use that as part of a color, but a wild card can only count as 1 color. If you have nothing but wild cards, they all have to count as the same color. So, okay, now what are the limitations? Now, some of these, you notice that there are boxes out with mineral, there are boxes that surround minerals. Those are metal plates. In order to, you have to drill through those. Those cannot be bombed through. Alternatively, there is stone that you see with symbols on it. Let me go ahead and focus in on that just to give you a better indication. So these are the metal plates, and you can only drill through those, and the stone you can only bomb through. Those are the limitations. Otherwise, the rest of everything is dirt, which can be either drilled or bombed through. So let's say that my first action was to drill. I can go ahead and drill here, and because I'm covering up an artifact, and I drill through a metal plate that has the, I always forget, it's like iron ore, I get to claim this, and I get to claim one of these random artifacts, and only I would know what it is. And when I collect any type of ore that's giving the money, in other words, in this game, all of it that I gain in a single turn is going to have to go on top of one of my pilot card stacks. And as soon as I have enough money on that stack to meet the cost of that card, you have your own personal stacks of pilot cards that you'll be buying from. This is the deck building part. Then that pops, and I'm going to be able to put this into my discard pile. Now, a couple of other things, though, here. First off, you notice that these have victory point symbols here. So these are going to be worth victory points at the end of the game, which gives you another incentive to buy them, as well as getting better cards into your deck. You'll notice that they have an escalating cost, so it goes from 15 to 20 to 25, and all the pilot stacks have the same types of costs, and you have to start with one and then work your way down to the others. Up here, I didn't actually go over this, but whenever you use a card that has one of these different action symbols, in this case a card draw up in the corner. When you play this card, you get this in addition to any kind of drilling or bombing that you might be doing with the card. Down here, however, if the card has this type of symbol, you're actually going to be able to immediately use that ability as soon as you've purchased the card, not when you've played it. Now in this case, what this ability is that you get to take a mineral tile from the supply that matches one that's already on this pilot stack, and then add it to a pilot stack of your choice. And this is the primary way in which you're going to make your deck stronger and get bigger and better cards. Notice that some of the cards actually have 2 drill symbols as well, which means you're going to have, they're that much more effective at allowing you to drill. This one, this arrow symbol here actually gives you another action as soon as you purchase the card. So you're always trying to plan ahead and see what special abilities you can get just from grabbing different cards, as well as keeping in mind that you always want to be trying to work towards the major achievements as you can, because 5 points is really nothing to sneeze at. And really, that's the game at that point. You're just going to be drilling and bombing, going down and down through these tunnels, taking different resources when you can, putting them onto your pilot cards, trying to make them pop, and take them into your deck as bigger and better cards, getting different special abilities. Every time someone covers up the last artifact on a board, and don't go off what I'm doing necessarily. I'm just doing this really quickly to show you some examples, but when the last artifact has been covered up, then you're going to put out, whoever did that is going to put out a brand new board, attach it to the bottom, and keep going. You're going to keep doing this until you get down to the 4th board, cover up the last artifact there. That player is going to finish out their turn and end the game. You're going to add up all of your victory points from the pilot cards that you buy, from the achievement cards that you were able to complete, as well as any of the artifact tokens that you've managed to grab that actually have victory points on the back of them. Add up all those points together. Whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. That is a quick and dirty run through of Super Motherload. Now, let's get to my final thoughts. The theme of Super Motherload is really strong, and I like it a bit. I don't know what games it's directly trying to be copying. I can take a guess at games like Dig Dug and some more modern games. But no matter what, it just has a video game feel to it, from the artwork and the graphic design to how the game is played, drilling down through all these different walls and rocks and steel plates and getting all these gems. It just feels like this a collecting video game, and I really enjoy the artwork and the graphic design. Some people in my group didn't like the artwork that much, but I strongly disagree. I like the feel of it and the vibe, the sort of indie vibe to it. The game just looks clean and modern and hip. I don't know how else to say it, but I play so many games that look really old-fashioned, even that come out in 2015, brand new, that I like seeing a game that just definitely sets itself apart from the rest of those. So I like the theme, and the components are all really high quality, so I dig that quite a bit. Going on to the gameplay, now I said in my intro that it's a deck builder, but not like a deck builder you've ever played before. I mean, it's got the same tropes. I mean, it definitely is. You have your starting deck of cards, and you're getting better cards and shuffling up and being able to draw those and play them. But that is it, really. I mean, how everything else is handled, it just feels different and like its own unique beast. And I'm not knocking the game at all. Quite the opposite. I really love how innovative the game feels. First off, I love any deck builder that lets you have your own set of stuff that you can buy and pull from and draft from. It's one of the reasons why I'm the only reviewer that seems to like War Machine High Command. But this is handled much differently than that game. But I like how you have your set of pilots of the different types, and all with their different strengths and weaknesses and special abilities, and how you kind of have to, kind of how the game is like digging through all this dirt to get these minerals, you have to dig through the stacks of pilots and sort of level them up in a way. So you're getting all these pilots, but you're getting better ones as you work on it. And it's kind of a tough thing to do because you're committing resources just to make these pilots pop in a sense. But I also like the fact that some of the pilots, when you purchase them, just give you a special ability. That's a great idea. So I love that innovation to the deck building format. And also the idea that you have the set number of actions on a turn. That's nothing new to any board game, but the fact that one of those actions has to be to draw cards. You do not draw cards automatically, and sometimes you'll try to push your luck and have maybe a big card draw at some point, maybe from special abilities that you have from buying pilots and things, and try to go as long as you can without having to draw. It might be only a couple of turns, but the faster you can get down and get to the gems that you want before the other players can, that's some important decision making there. So I love the fact, I mean, again, this is another situation where I kind of differed with the players that I actually played the game with, who felt like that was very restrictive because they're only used to playing not just deck builders, but any kind of board game that just gives you automatic card draws, and that's not how that works here. This is another thing that you have to do and decide upon, and I liked it. I like that kind of stress and tenseness to it, because at the end of it all, it's a bit of a race. You're racing down through these, tunnels that you build in order to get more and more gems before the other players do, and to get the choicest gems, not just the ones that are going to be worth the most to you, but also the ones that you need to get certain achievement cards. That's another great part of the game, that you have all these different achievements that you can buy for, some of them worth more points and easier to get than the others, and how you decide to focus on those and go for them are another way that you can sort of set yourself apart from the other players. I love that aspect of the game as well, that you can feel very different from the tactics and what the other players are trying to do. At the end of it all, you're still just trying to drill down or bomb down as fast as you can to get to the good stuff, but still, you feel like you're doing it in a different way, and I really appreciate that. If I was going to say that there's a fault with the game, and it's actually the biggest fault that I can think of, probably the only one worth mentioning, and that is just that the game can drag on a bit too long. And I don't just mean overall, I definitely mean between players' turns. I feel like I've said this about quite a few board games lately, and maybe it is a major issue that a lot of games need to deal with, but the amount of downtime between turns in Super Motherload, especially in a 4-player game, is just really, really bad. And because it's not that you have like a ton of complex decisions to make in this game, but with the few actions that you have, the thing that I like about this game, in trying to make these actions work for you, that can lead to analysis paralysis, even in people that would not normally be prone to that, because you have to decide the best possible route you can to get down through it and to be the most efficient. Every single mineral that you can take is pivotal in trying to get the artifacts and trying to just, make the most out of the limited amount of cards that you have. They're very critical decisions, and it leads to a lot of time on your turn being spent trying to figure out what to do. Now, you might say, well, shouldn't you be thinking about that in between turns? Well, that's another small issue with the game, kind of a significant issue actually, is that what you want to do can change completely by the time your turn comes around. Because if another player takes the stuff that you've been, the line or the row or whatever you've been trying to bomb or drill, if they take that you've been planning for this whole time, and it's right before your turn comes up, you're like, well, back to the drawing board. Because now everything has changed. And that's sort of inherent to the gameplay. I don't know how you get around that, but I don't know. It can be kind of a frustrating thing, and that leads to kind of the other issue with the game. Is just that, and I'm kind of nitpicking to a degree here. I don't think that these are very debilitating things for the game, but they are worth mentioning. The other thing is just that you can be totally screwed. You can just get screwed out of the best paths, the best routes, the best minerals in I keep wanting to call it the dungeon, because you're just not in the right place at the right time. You haven't scaled to the next board yet. The other players are just getting the best stuff, and they just happen to get the best cards that enable them to do that. That kind of luck is present in any deck builder, and it felt a little more momentous here and a little more debilitating. But having said that, and by the way, because of those reasons, I think the game is probably best with 2 or 3 players if you can manage that. I've played it not with 2, but I've played it with 3, and it was those kind of problems were much less pronounced. Having said all that, the game is great. It really is. It feels like nothing else I have played up to this point. I love the graphic design and the artwork and the theme of it. I love deck builders in general, and I think that this one puts a very unique spin on it with stuff that I haven't seen before. And dude, you're taking a freaking vehicle down through tunnels in Mars drilling for gems. That's just a great idea. So that's Super Motherload from Roxley and XGen Studios. Very, very cool game.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.